Parents, have you ever seen your child turn hyper, cranky, or completely out of control for no apparent reason? Maybe after a fun afternoon capped off with a trip to the ice cream shop or following a friend's birthday party. The culprit may be dyes. Science says dyes are generally recognized as safe, but safe for who and based on what? In this video, we're uncovering the scary truth about those colorful snacks and how your observation may be more valuable than the proclaimed studies.
You're blowing up!
I feel funny!
I'm not surprised.
What's happening?
You're blowing up like a balloon!
Like a blueberry.
Somebody do something! Call a doctor!
Stick her with a pin. She'll pop.
When I was in 5th grade, the first movie I ever saw on cable was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I remember sitting with my friend Dina, mesmerized at the magical, colorful world. Maybe it was foreshadowing, because today that seems to be every grocery store aisle. Neon yogurts, rainbow cereals, and slushies that glow. It feels magical, fun, and harmless, except behind the curtain, those colors don't come from beets and berries. They come from petroleum-based dyes, like red 40 and yellow number 5. Here's where things get complicated. The FDA calls these dyes as generally recognized as safe. That conclusion comes from what? This says that generally recognized as safe by qualified experts. Well, let's start with, what does generally recognized as safe mean? Let me provide an analogy. Bee stings are generally recognized as safe. A bee sting's effect varies from person to person. And while most people experience only minor, localized pain and swelling, a small but significant portion of the population is vulnerable to more serious or even life-threatening reactions. So do we try to avoid bee stings, or do we tell our kids to go catch those pretty bright yellow bees? Okay, moving on. Who are the qualified experts? I'll give you a minute to guess. Well, if you guess the food company itself, you were right. It's through a process called self-affirmation. A food company, through a process of self-affirmation, determines if a substance is generally recognized as safe. Companies do this by presenting, supposedly, scientifically based safety data and documentation to support their conclusion. The US FDA does not determine GRAS status, but offers a voluntary notification process for companies to submit their determination for review. So the last question I have for you is, was it tested on kids? Well, the answer would be no, because that would be unethical. They're not testing their artificial colors, flavors, food dyes on kids. That would be unethical. So who's testing this on kids? Well, that would be the parents, the teachers, the schools, and other adults who are serving these foods to children all the time. So when parents describe kids turning hyper, angry, unfocused after eating these cupcakes and slushies, critics dismiss this as anecdotal. But I would like to point out that observation is the foundation of science. If we're doing any type of scientific study, part of that scientific study would be observation. So why do we discount the observations of millions of parents and teachers and coaches who see these changes every day? Here's a short clip from Dr. Rebecca Bevins speaking about her own experience with her son.
During the second week of kindergarten, his teacher pulled me aside and suggested that he had ADHD. And why did it seem like he only had ADHD on some days? In second grade, he started having problems. He had a hard time concentrating. One day I looked at him and said, "Do your best to focus." And he said, "I can't concentrate, Mom. My brain buzzes." Brain buzzes? I have a PhD in cognitive neuroscience. If I learned anything in college, it's that brains are not supposed to buzz. Maybe we couldn't imagine pulling everything with artificial food dyes from our home and our diet. That meant no more colored cupcakes, no more cheesy yellow chips, no pickles, no candies, no colored breakfast cereals. You see, artificial food dyes are in many of the foods, the processed foods that we eat. Maybe we just couldn't imagine taking away foods that kids enjoy in their childhood. Now, I bet many of you are wondering, what are artificial food dyes? Well, they are a set of chemicals that are added to our food to enhance the color and appearance. They are man-made, petroleum-based, and banned in many countries. They provide no nutritional value, and many have been linked to cancer. And now I know, many of you are thinking, oh, then why are they in our food? Well, because we Americans, we like our brightly colored, shiny stuff. And this includes our food.
Now, when my daughter was in middle school, her daily choice for lunch was a red slushie and a chocolate chip cookie. And when I spoke to the principal about that, she mentioned that the PTC put the red slushie machine into the school to raise money for extracurricular activities. So parents are unknowingly, unwittingly funding school programs by selling junk food, things that would appeal to kids, yet we know through observation may affect their mood and their memory. It's not just my story, it's the story of many parents and many teachers. Here's just a short clip from an interview I did with a health coach who was formerly a high school teacher.
Was when I was teaching in the high school, and I taught anatomy, physiology, and biology. So I was teaching them all about how their bodies work. The foods that they were bringing into my room to eat on the run weren't helping their body work. But what I saw was kids bringing in packaged processed foods. The one that stands out to me the most, but it's like a roll of these tiny like mini donuts that have this coated chocolate on them. And they look like plastic. They would bring those in that they got at the store, at the school for their breakfast. But this was a constant thing I was seeing. Behaviors through the roof, so many diagnoses of attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, or ADD. I could see in a millisecond that when someone come into my classroom, the little side light window next to the classroom door, they'd look through it and I could see, oh my gosh, they haven't either gotten their medication or they've just eaten lunch and who knows what they ate. And I could just see the behaviors shift and change, but there was nothing I could do about it.
These stories may not show up in a clinical trial, but they show up in real life, and parents deserve to know that their observations are valid.
Well, I have found that food is the number one factor to behavioral issues. And that's not what most people think of when they see, their son acting up. When one man saw his son punching holes in walls, he did not understand what was going on for the longest time. And eventually, when he was reading about different things, he saw something about food dyes. And then he noticed one day that after grandma came to visit and gave him one of those strawberry ice creams from the ice cream truck, his son was punching holes in walls.
The good news is there is another way. There is an alternative. I have found working with kids that when they are given informed choice, meaning that there's some amount of education and comparison, they tend to make the healthier choice. They particularly love to get into the kitchen and create their own snacks. Now, kids just need to learn how to read labels, and they just need to be given choice. Don't we all really just want informed consent? Well, kids deserve that too. In the video that I have here, the kids had fun making Pop-Tarts and frosting them with purple frosting colored with purple sweet potatoes. It always surprises the parents that kids will make the healthy choice. Of course, in my program, there tends to be a group of kids, so no one is being left out or singled out. When it's the whole class or the whole group, they're more likely to try the healthier options. And there are plenty of healthy options. Okay, so if we know that kids don't mind the healthy options, they actually like to cook, and in my classes, they choose the healthy options. This sounds so simple to just give them real food. So why are we finding this so hard as adults? I hear many parents and adults tell me, oh, my kids won't eat healthy, or I just buy them what they want. This is what they want. But the kids aren't being educated or given informed choice. Is that because we as adults have a preconceived notion about what they want, or are we feeding them maybe what we want? It's not uncommon for parents to live vicariously through their kids, so maybe we want those Dunkaroos. Maybe we're tired, or maybe we're lazy. I actually think there's a much deeper issue around giving our kids something that is fun. Maybe it's a way to give them the joy that we can't otherwise give them. You know, like taking them out for ice cream because that brings them joy. Maybe these processed foods are a symbol of our love. And I say that because my daughter loved brownies. And so I always made her brownies because that was a symbol of my love for her. And my son loves donuts. So I would buy him donuts at every opportunity. I understand wanting to show our kids love. And I think that this is a topic that will deserve much deeper discussion in a future video.
Even if you were paying attention, to the labels, just realize that that's just one dimension of what the food has to offer you. There's that loving intent that we talked about that's also really important. And you're not going to get that, eating food out of a paper bag. And this isn't, to put down any parents, like it's hard to escape it, especially when you look at foods that are specifically designed for children, right? They're, loaded with dyes, loaded with sugar, because these are the things that food manufacturers know.
For now, I would love to continue this conversation that observation is science. We are conducting a science experiment, and the simplest science experiment that you can do is to omit all dyes for 2 weeks. Please watch the entire TED Talk from Dr. Rebecca Bevins. I will list some other resources, and I am available for speaking engagements for parents, teachers, or schools so that I can help facilitate this conversation for the health and well-being of our children. Let's stop treating our children like a science experiment. I'll wrap it up with this quote from Sachin Patel, a functional health practitioner, who said, "Words have frequency, words have meaning. And the word die alone should give us pause to what we may be doing to our children." Until next time, bye for now.